viewers on Synergy TV, all of our viewers on the Caribbean Showtime television in Canada, all of our listeners on U975 FM Multicultural Radio, a very warm welcome to another edition of the program Conversations with Zelisa. Special program every Monday from today, Freedom Monday, with Dr. Burindradat Tiwari. Directing this morning and in Master Control, Hisham Costello. And on behalf of our team, we'd like to wish each and every one of you a marvelous Monday. Monday, the 10th of July, 2023, a day and time we'll never have the opportunity to have again. If you're celebrating a birthday, happy birthday to you. If it's your anniversary, happy anniversary to you and yours. Let's quickly go to our quote for today, coming to us with the kind compliments, Fab India Expo. And our quote says, "Your mind is a garden, your thoughts are the seeds. You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds." So that's something for us all to think about. That came to us with the kind compliments, Fab India Expo. Remember to check them out today. That's the white tent opposite Medford gas station. Great deals, make it a family affair, especially for their food court and of course the play area for your children. My dear friends, let's say a very warm welcome to a very special new feature on Conversations, and that of course every Monday, Freedom Monday, with Dr. Burindradat Tiwari and his distinguished guests. Let me say a very good morning and a warm welcome going out to Dr. Burindradat Tiwari. Sir, a household name branded not just here in Trinidad and Tobago but throughout the world, a walking institute and a wealth of knowledge and experience. Welcome, sir, and good morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, and good morning, all of you viewers and listeners everywhere. I want to thank you for letting me be part of your morning. This morning we have a special guest, and we're going to be talking about two important things. We are going to be talking about the 50th anniversary of CARICOM Summit that was recently held in Port of Spain, and we are also going to be talking about local government. But before we bring on our guests, I'd like to say a few things to you. My name is Burindradat Tiwari, as Zelisa mentioned to you. Many of you would know me as Bo Tiwari. Some of you might know me in politics and parliament and in government, and I did do that over part of my life. Some of you would know me in education, and I did do that for an equally significant part of my life. And during that time, I taught in secondary school, I taught at the University of the West Indies, I taught and was executive director of Arthur Lockjack Graduate School of Business. Before it became that, it was the IOB, Institute of Business. And of course, I ended up as principal of the University of the West Indies and also pro-vice chancellor for planning and development subsequently. In politics, I've had a long career. In parliament, I've had a long stint. And in government, I've served in two cabinets under A.N.R. Robinson and Kamala Prasad Bisesa as prime ministers. What do I do now? What do I do now is that I spend most of my time reading and writing. I always used to write a column from time to time in both The Guardian and The Express. But now I am a columnist with The Guardian. I write every Thursday. And sometimes on this show I will share some of my thoughts with you on what I have written or what I intend to write or things like that. And what I'm dedicating a lot of my time to now is working with collaborators to write books. One of them came out last year, November, on the economic impact of Venezuelan migration on Trinidad and Tobago. and the Caribbean, and that was done with Roger Hussein and Anthony Gonzalez. And we working now, well, we have one with the publishers now on which would include Roger, Rebecca Gokul, Boslan, and myself on the 60th anniversary of independence. So these days I spend a lot of my time writing, doing a little research, thinking about the world we live in, the society that we live in, the region that we live in, and the challenges that we face. And I try to put those things to paper, and this particular program I hope you will enjoy. Why Freedom Monday? Well, we're doing it on a Monday. And secondly, I want the idea of freedom to sink in. Freedom of thought, freedom to assess, freedom to challenge, and the freedom to express your views. So we hope to take calls on this show. We hope to engage guests as we will today. And we hope as well to engage in conversations that are important to you and to people in the society that concern Trinidad and Tobago, the region, and the world. The world is small, it's getting smaller every day because of connectivities. And there is nothing that happens anywhere that doesn't have some kind of impact on you wherever you are. That's the reality of living in today's world, and that's the reality of living in a interconnected world. So I hope that you will join me every Monday as you join Zelisa on her show. And I hope that we'll have a real good time on Freedom Monday, and I hope that you will engage me on the telephone, and that we'll have an opportunity to discuss various things and to share ideas and thoughts about various things. Before I move on to my guests, I do want to acknowledge that personally I've lost a good friend, and I think, well, of course, his family, his wife Joan, his daughter Kavita, his brother Bert, and other members of his family and community would be mourning now for the loss of Professor Brinsley Samaru. We have been colleagues for many years at the university, friends, collaborators on various things, and it really is a personal loss, a loss certainly to the family, a loss to the university and academic community, but a loss to Trinidad and Tobago and the region, and to the world of letters and research and academics and scholarship. Brinsley was a historian, and he was a very activist kind of historian. He would take his things and his ideas, his thoughts, and carry them to the people everywhere. And I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge his tremendous contribution to society, not only in academia and letters. He served in Parliament. He was a Minister of Government with me in the NAR government. He served at the university for a long time. I was principal there. I was a lecturer there at a certain point in time. And he really has done human service with the 84 years of his life. He was a giving person. He contributed tremendously. He mentored a lot of people. He shared his knowledge everywhere. And he is a real loss to the society. And personally, I'm very sorry that he is gone, and my condolences go out to his wife and daughter, brother, and other family and close friends. He was very, very well liked because he was a simple person, and he might have known a lot, but he was not pretentious about his knowledge, and he didn't use his knowledge as a weapon. He used his knowledge really to teach, and he was a lifelong learner. So we have lost a good soul, and may his soul go in peace and find peace, and may God embrace him as his soul passes on to the next stage of the journey. So I thank you for listening to me, and in a moment we will bring our guests on now, and I will pass on to Zelisa.
Of course, we echo your sentiments and condolences to the management, the family and friends near and far and throughout the world. He certainly made a great impact, not just here in Trinidad and Tobago, but throughout the world. And of course, coming from the management and staff of ZMB Communications Limited. At this time, we'd like to remind you it's Freedom Monday, and with that, you have the freedom to call in at 3847142 or send your WhatsApp messages 3847142. I'll be happy to read those messages to Doc, and he will respond, he and his guests. Let's say a very good morning and a warm welcome going out to Mr. Derek Ram Samuj, and a political analyst and consultant with extensive experience in political and market research in the Caribbean. Commentator for various Caribbean media over 20 years, still dedicated to being an objective and detached observer who takes the pulse of Caribbean people's concerns.
Sorry?
His academic background in political economy is supplemented with decades as a practitioner in research and analysis of public opinion, attitudes and behavior. And of course, Mr. Derek Ramsamuj will be joining us shortly here on the program Freedom Monday, as we continue to inform, educate, empower and answer those unanswered questions. A gentle reminder, when you do call in, please remember to take the volume down on your television or your radio. When you send your WhatsApp messages, certainly send them, and I will be more than happy to read those messages to Dr. Tiwari and Mr. Ram Samuj. Sir, good morning and a very warm welcome to Freedom Monday.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Derek, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
It's wonderful to see you. Thank you for coming in.
It is. It's been years. A long, long time.
It's been a while. But you are a very alert person. You are all over the Caribbean. You keep in touch with issues. Recently, we had the 50th anniversary celebration for CARICOM here. It took the form of a summit. You had 15 leaders of the region all attending and present and participating. And you had a number of very, very important people in the world. We'll get to some of that as we converse. What is your take on this event, and what is your assessment of its value and impact?
Well, first of all, we must congratulate CARICOM as an institution for surviving 50 years, for surviving all the challenges they've had when it comes to governing the society, dealing with trade matters. So we must congratulate CARICOM. However, for the next 50 years, while we have had no shortage of programs, paper, the challenge we've had is that of implementation. So when we hear Prime Minister Skerritt talking about the movement of people and expanding that movement of people within the region, we first have to draw attention to the charters of human rights that exist. Because if you wish to move people from one country to the other, then their rights must also be protected. And according to the charter, this is where the challenge starts. The sovereignty of local laws are at times in conflict with their charters. And that is one of the issues. The second issue would be that of migration. We must understand that the Caribbean's migration amongst even non-Caribbean countries, non-CARICOM countries, such as Venezuela, such as Cuba, those are other considerations. And the third element, as you will certainly enhance, is the geopolitics that are going to be major issues when you look at US and China.
Yeah, you've raised some very, very important things here. The Prime Minister of Barbados did talk about the fact that they would have to amend laws in all the countries in order to facilitate the movement of people. The immigration question is a big question here in the hemisphere. I mean, people move freely in Europe, for instance, because of the European Union. They can live anywhere, they can work anywhere, they can operate anywhere. In the hemisphere, you have a real immigration problem. First of all, you had one of the largest immigration problems in the world in Venezuela itself. I think the second largest refugee and asylum seeking and migration problem that we've had in the world. And you have a problem now in Central America where countries like Nicaragua, Guatemala, Honduras present a real challenge coming through Mexico for the United States. So the immigration problem remains, what can I say, a tough problem in the hemisphere. And we have not solved that problem in the Caribbean yet. I mean, countries kind of let things happen. We have problems here. I saw today that illegal Venezuelans are being taken to court and so on.
Doc,
so there,
with that, we just need to take a short break. I'd like you to please hold that thought. Before we go to that break, I'd like to read a question that came in. Good morning. Why is it that CARICOM heads don't agree on a single currency for the region? So we'll just take a short break. When we return, I'm sure you'll address this particular question. Thank you kindly. Let's go to these important messages. It's a Freedom Monday with Dr. Borindranath Tiwari and special guest today, Mr. Derek Ramsamujh, political scientist and analyst. Stay with us.
Let's go, let's go, let's go!
Where?
The Fab India Expo Shoguanas, they have announced their final extension.
Final extension?
I thought they were going to be here for a little while. I have a whole list to shop for.
You always wait for last minute.
You know how much I like bargains. Last time they were closing, I got nearly 80% off.
They've got their Dosa festival happening as well. I need to tell my friends about it.
I will eat tandoori chicken, naan, butter chicken, biryani. Oh gosh, my mouth watering.
Also, I want to try their Bombay head massage.
I'll get a pedicure. You know the spa? They have 50% off on a Tuesday.
We have a few days left. They're closing on Monday, July 17th.
Monday the 17th of July.
Yes, Fab India Expo, opposite Medford Gas Station, Shoguanas. Closing on Monday, July 17th.
Super quality supermarket. Best quality and great prices. Get your fresh fruits, vegetables and meats. It's a one-stop shop for the most affordable groceries, baby items, kitchen supplies, bathroom accessories, car care supplies, pet food, toys and lots more, all at Super Quality Supermarket. Wide aisles, fully air-conditioned and secured parking. 3 locations nationwide: Couva Car Park, Couva, 98 Endeavour Road, Shoguanas, and 47 Tissue Drive, Trincity. Super Quality Supermarket.
Welcome to OATS, Optimal Alternative Treatment Solutions Limited, the future of healthcare, which provides full body scans which we detect and treat cancer, tumors, all heart conditions, cysts, fibroids, dementia, Parkinson's, just to name a few. No radiation and medication is not needed. If you are tired of getting no results, call us at 354-4459 or 356 7226.
Welcome back to all of our viewers, Synergy TV, Caribbean Showtime Television in Canada, all of our listeners on U975 FM Multicultural Radio. Welcome back in conversation with Dr. Gurindra Tiwari and Mr. Derek Ramsamuj, political scientist and analyst, today talking to us about CARICOM 50th Anniversary Summit. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thank you. Derek, you were talking before we broke about some of the challenges that are inevitable in trying to resolve some of the issues that we are trying to resolve here. You mentioned the issue of immigration, the movement of people. I mean, there's the issue of transportation, which should be easy to solve, but again, it's a challenge. But there are other big issues. I mean, the big issue in the Caribbean, whether you want to accept it or you want to pretend that there are other issues that are important, is really crime. Trinidad and Tobago is a crime-ridden place. You have a lot of gangs here. Jamaica is a crime-ridden place. You have a lot of gangs there. Haiti is perhaps the worst case scenario of what could happen in a Caribbean country. And drugs and guns are everywhere in the Caribbean, Suriname, Guyana, everywhere. You want to address the issue of guns and crime and gangs and killings in this part of the world?
We need to address that for 2 or 3 reasons. One, we need more effective border control. We cannot get away from the fact that if you look at Guyana, next to Brazil is Latam, the hometown.
That's right.
If you look at Suriname and you go to Kwamalasso Tumo, which is basically on the border, there is more Brazilian trading occurring in these places. You go to Belize, where we're dealing with Guatemala, where there are border disputes
Honduras
as well,
too.
and Honduras.
Yes.
Jamaica's problem with Haiti is beyond immigration, but that of the movement of gangs. So we must recognize our reality. We are not as rich as we would like to believe. We have a diminishing middle class, we have a growing poverty, we have a growing debt crisis. And people are living in a sense of panic even before the post-COVID. For this to be resolved, the Caribbean needs the political will of its leaders to develop a proper database that could basically deal with the movement of people. So whether you're in a gang, whether you're a professional under the CSME, you must be allowed to conduct your business and you must have some level of cohesion. There is a lack of unity amongst the leaders. As we can see, CARICOM may put forward a position, but many countries and leaders make unilateral arrangements.
Of course, all the time.
All the time. So the question is, how cohesive is CARICOM? And while we have no shortage of meetings every 6 months and no shortage of plans, Dr. Tiwari, the problem is people having the political will to do what is required to deal with food security, to deal with energy security, to reduce our carbon footprint, because as you mentioned, transport, we have a huge carbon footprint because we depend on extra-regional tourism, for example. So you're a university lecturer dealing with business. We have yet to develop a business model for the region that increases our wealth, not increases our dependency on state patronage.
Yeah. The last week, I read a column for The Guardian. Last week, my article was on the middle-income country trap, which is really what we are in, all these countries of the region. Some of them are classified as high-income countries. Some of them are classified as middle-income countries. But the problem in the Caribbean, when you look at what is happening in the rest of the world, when you look at the rate at which we are growing, when you look at the level of unemployment, when you look at the transformation of the economies, when you look at the challenge of energy and transformation from that for a country like Trinidad and Tobago, I mean, the problem really is how do you grow these economies? And I don't think the government spend enough time dealing with that. Not only do you need integrated trade, but you need investment, you need diversification, you need a broader region of your trading and exporting and importing countries. You know,
you are a gentleman.
Say something.
You are a gentleman who come from the tapia.
Yeah.
I remember you from the early 1980s.
That's my early political career, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
In which there was a level of intellectualism from Lloyd Best,
yes,
of creating a developmental model.
Yeah.
We have had numerous governments in the region, not just Trinidad, all become imprisoned in a institutional system of governance that they are afraid to break.
Yeah.
And that is, we have had no shortage from Lloyd Best days, from when you were at your height, you and basically Lincoln Myers and these gentlemen, talking about food, talking about self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
But we become imprisoned under the Bretton Woods system. We become embroiled in the system between the U.S. capital system, the U.S. banks, and that of China offering money. And therefore, we have remained cap in hand, begging for money at different levels, whether we're talking about looming or whether we're talking now with the environment and carbon credits.
Yes.
Right?
The
so
same principle, doesn't it?
It's
Yeah.
the same principle done over 50 years of dealing with sugar and the Muscovado bias to that of where we have prime ministers now looking for money with respect to carbon trading as opposed to fixing their own business.
Yes.
Example, we claim to be energy driven in Trinidad, but yet our neighbors in Guyana and Suriname basically go to the Europeans, broker deals for the oil and gas, and all that is left is a pittance for the indigenous population. And therefore, going back, sorry, but harping on you, going back to your own primary focus when you first entered politics, a lot of these issues now to be revisited. Example, Frantz Fanon, Richard Adelt, the whole notion of how we deal with colonialism. And that's why I am happy. I'm sad that my teacher, Brincy Samaru, passed away.
Yeah.
But I still believe people like yourself have got to guide a new way of thinking. And we probably need to go back to some of that in a new framework.
Well, you need people like me, yes, but you also need young people to come forward, and you need people to what can I say? You need people with fresh perspectives that are well informed, but have youthful vigor as well. You need the experience, you need the youth, you need the vigor, you need the energy, and we really need to start with the thought process, the engaging process, and come up with solutions for our problems. Here, we cannot continue in the way that we are going.
Well, first of all, the Gen Z population, that will be the intellectual backbone of our societies within the next 10, 15 years.
15 years, yes.
Have got to basically be guided, and we must recognize that while we write books, the art of communicating with them when a new technological platform has got to take a different structure.
That's true. That's true. While we were here, Zelisa mentioned that someone had asked a question of a common currency for CARICOM. Is that something that is significant now? The whole currency issue is becoming important in the world, and China, for instance, is unhappy about the situation of the yuan in relation to the US dollar, etc. You have Russia acting up with the ruble. You have India and Russia trade on the basis of non-US currency and so on. So that, and you basically have many countries coming together around China and Russia, including Brazil, big country like Brazil in our hemisphere, that are really trying to find a way of trading in a different currency than the U.S. and to not make give the U.S. dollar that kind of anchorage. Deal first with the CARICOM issue and whether or not a common currency would make any difference, and deal with the larger question, if you are so minded, on the question of what is likely to be the emerging contention, if not conflict, over world trade and currency prices.
Okay.
Dr. Tiwari and Mr. Ramsamud, I'd like you to please address that when we return. We've got to take a short break at this time. So let's go to these important messages. We return, and of course, when we do return, Dr. Burinder Attiwari in conversation with Dr. Derek Ramsamud. Stay with us.
Visit Agri Savers Limited, number 19 Orange Grove Trace, St. Augustine, for all your agriculture, livestock, pet, agri-equipment, hydroponics, cannabis, fishing tackle supplies, and much more. Open Monday to Friday 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturdays 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Contact 473-6074, 663-1094. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Therapeutic treatments and tutoring by Nandi, certified occupational massage therapist and reflexologist, specialized in all types of therapeutic treatments like massages, reflexology, medicopping, detoxification, sinus drainage, body analysis scans, supplements, and much more. Call or WhatsApp today at 320-7256 or 323-2060. Passage to Asia, the award-winning restaurant and banquet suite located in the heart of Chaguanas, the best fusion food restaurant in Trinidad and Tobago. From the second you enter to the moment you leave, you will be treated like royalty. Come dine in luxury and enjoy the finest combination of Asian cuisine prepared by skilled and qualified chefs at Passage to Asia. The experience is truly unforgettable, perfect for families, couples, and large groups. Passage to Asia, located at St. Ives Street, Chaguanas. Contact 672-2701. Also, visit us on Facebook and Instagram.
Charan's Bookstore for all your school books, stationery items, uniforms, shoes, board games, toys, and much more. Visit them at any of their 3 branches located at 24 Eastern Main Road, Quezay, San Juan. Telephone number 675-9024 or 675-3607. 53 Eastern Main Road, Tunapuna, 663-1884, 663-1476, or 645-3878. Trin City Mall, Trin City. Contact them at 640-3155.
Calm down.
Check out Charan's Bookstore.
Welcome back to all of our viewers, Synergy TV, Caribbean Showtime Television in Canada, all of our listeners throughout the world on U975 FM Multicultural Radio. Welcome back to the program. Of course, it's Freedom Monday with Dr. Burinder Attiwari and special guest today, Mr. Derek Ramsamud, political scientist and analyst. Of course, speaking about the CARICOM 50th Anniversary Summit. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Zelisa. I'll leave you with the question that I left you with before we broke, which is the single currency for CARICOM and the issue of the price of currencies in a geopolitical world in which global trade is in some tension now.
Sure. Thank you for the question. It's humorous that 50 years later, the words of your colleague, John Humphrey, comes to mind, where John in the early 80s was talking about the creation of a CARICOM currency, as the CARICOM dollar. And he was ridiculed at that point in time. But now more than ever, we see the importance, like how the euro created the euro currency, the European Union created the euro currency. Maybe it's now time we look at that. And if we look at the expansion of CARICOM to include Cuba, whose medical facilities and medical technology is of great value to our region, and even Santo Domingo, where there is a huge population for trade of commodities, it makes the urgency of getting a common denominator to exchange regional goods and services and dealing with the external tariffs as well, that deals with perhaps the construction sector like cement and aggregate, which is important for infrastructure. Now, getting back to the global currency problem, the fundamental challenge in the region is that of de-risking and that of the relationship between our central banks and the US banking authorities and the European banking authorities. For the last, I believe, the last 7-8 years, as you realize, most of our commodities deal with merchandise from China. All the supermarkets, all the construction deal with commodities from China. And the Chinese financial institution made available for countries like Suriname, through their central bank agreement, money is available where you can buy your commodities from China and pay with respect to the Chinese currency. You did not have to go and purchase US to China. So that was one of the facilities that for the last 7 years, China has been making available to unilaterally to different states, such as Suriname. The challenge, however, comes with the de-risking element on our local banks. And our local banks' one inability to get foreign currency or be selective with how they deal with foreign currency, and to facilitate trade both within the region using some sort of CARICOM exchange, and in a place like China accessing their resources that is available at concessionary rates. If we had the capacity and the political will to cut the demand by as much as 20% of US dollars for commodities in non-US countries, we would see a fundamentally different trading system. And that brings me to India. So for example, things like rice, things like oil, basic food items that can be sourced elsewhere. Why should we convert to US to pay an Indian supplier when we claim to have had these relationships going for decades, for hundreds of years? And that is why we need leaders who can negotiate, because we have to transform the society. And if you're just replacing one with the other, my friend, I will be older than you and we'll be fighting the same problem.
Yeah. I mean, what you really talking about is a kind of reconfiguration, a transfiguration almost of the existing order, which is not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing for small countries. Let us get back to the CARICOM issue for just a little bit and talk about the Secretary of State of the United States. When he came here, he came with a lot of deliverables, right? He came, he said, look, we are appointing a special prosecutor to deal with the issue of guns transshipment to the Caribbean. So he came with that. He said, we're giving you $5.5 million to deal with the issue of food security and other issues that you might have to attend to. We know that food security is a problem here, and he actually quoted a UN report in which he said that 1 in every 2 people living in the Caribbean has a problem with food security, which is an alarming number. That is 50% of your population. And he, of course, talked about the climate change issue came up, the transformation of energy, etc. He talked about Dominica, etc. We ourselves have our challenges. But is that enough in the current circumstances in terms of partnership between the Caribbean and the U.S.? And how is that affected by the fact that you have major players in the Western Hemisphere now, like China? You talked about the role that China is playing with Suriname, for instance, in trade. The last time I visited Suriname, which must be 5 or 6 years ago, I thought to myself that every single retail outlet in Suriname was owned by Chinese.
Yes.
And I tried to figure out what were the linkages as you move upwards in the chain. Is it enough that the Secretary of State brought these things, that he is offering these things, that he suggested these are tangible things that we could do? And what does that, is it just because of the geopolitics with China? Has the United States missed the boat in terms of its relationship with countries in the hemisphere? Is it trying to retrieve? Is it too late? What is China's posture in all of this? And then you have partners of China here in the Western Hemisphere, not only Russia, but you have Iran very much present in a country like Venezuela. You have Russia being the longest ally with Cuba in the Western Hemisphere. Talk to me about that, because I know you understand those things very well.
So there are 2 or 3 elements. One is the energy dimension within the geopolitical framework. And maybe because we have found new sources of oil and gas in the CARICOM region, that could perhaps be a balancing force to an extent with respect to the United States. Have the U.S. basically decided to see what they can offer. But what they're offering is a pittance, and they should be bluntly be ashamed of offering that, because of the fact the Caribbean's history was based on agriculture, right? We built our economies on sugar, then later rice, okay? So they can't really teach us anything in agriculture, or let us say if they want to bring new technology. 1. 2, if the Caribbean developed a position of all the, forgive me, the McDonald's or all the fast food outlets that take our US currency, if we developed a position that they can only be allowed to function if X amount comes from our products, where our farming is integrated in the system.
Yeah, some of that is happening now with chicken and
but
stuff like
after
that.
50 years, where do we get the chicken feed from? The eggs come from United States for our hatcheries.
Yeah, the whole value chain is a problem.
The whole value chain is not properly integrated to benefit our agriculture sector. So I think it's somewhat distasteful that we in the region trying to develop a food security program had a big conference here, and the people from Guyana here, we have not moved on this talk shop called on agriculture, but again choose to go cap in hand begging for a couple of morsels of dollars. They, for example, if they had a concern, what are they doing with Haiti? What are they really doing with Haiti with respect to the poverty? And all I'm saying is, I hear what you're saying, we must be thankful, but we must also shape our destiny.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge.
And on the Haiti question, though, I mean, it's clear the UN Secretary General was here. They're going to send a UN force there. I'm sure the US is going to be involved. I suspect CARICOM. From what our Prime Minister said, I suspect there might be some troops from African countries as well going into Haiti. I don't know how much that will solve the problem.
Doc, you have been
Yeah.
in government
Yes.
when Aristide was first elected,
Aristide
and
came
the
to visit,
NER
yes.
government
I met him here.
sent people there. And
Yeah.
one of the issues then was, okay, you have a new leader, but are you changing the power structure?
No, it never changed.
And it never changed.
Yeah.
And what you're suggesting, is suggested will not change the system. And our democratic sister CARICOM countries, the 15 other members,
Yeah.
have not, because Haiti will make it 16, right? The 15 other members have not seen it fit to go in and build the required institutions, because why? They're afraid of the gangs.
Yeah, but the gangs are real and it's a
Yes, it
problem.
is.
And unless you have order in Haiti, some sense of order, and unless you have some kind of political will to do some transformation. I mean, Haiti, as you know, is a society in which you have a small percentage of people creaming off the top, and the vast majority of people, 80–90% of
It's
the
a mafia
population.
oligarchy.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
mafia oligarchy.
So, I mean, these problems are so deep, they are so extensive, and I feel that many of the things that we try are just little plasters
and that brings me
for
back,
these terrible sores.
but that brings me back to the colonialism, where Haiti was still paying France for
Yes.
their freedom. And we sat down in the region and kept quiet about it.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's Freedom Monday, and of course, a gentle reminder, of course, that you can send your WhatsApp messages. You'd like to join in on the conversation. 3847142. Questions, concerns, comments. When we return, let's go to these important messages. When we return in conversation with Dr. Barindra Dutt Tiwari and Mr. Derek Ramsamuj. When we return, stay with us.
Let's go, let's go, let's go!
Where?
The fact is, they have announced their final extension.
Final extension?
I thought they were going to be here for a little while. I have a whole list to shop for.
You always wait for last minute.
You know how much I like bargains. Last time they were closing, I got nearly 80% off.
They've got their Dosa festival happening as well. I need to tell my friends about it.
I will eat tandoori chicken, naan, butter chicken, biryani. Oh gosh, my mouth watering.
Also, I want to try their Bombay head massage.
I'll get a pedicure. You know the spa? They have 50% off on a Tuesday.
We have a few days left. They're closing on Monday, July 17th.
Monday the 17th of July.
Yes, Fab India Expo, opposite Medford Gas Station, Shogunas. Closing on Monday, July 17th.
Super quality supermarket. Best quality and great prices. Get your fresh fruits, vegetables and meats. It's a one-stop shop for the most affordable groceries, baby items, kitchen supplies, bathroom accessories, car care supplies, pet food, toys and lots more, all at Super Quality Supermarket. Wide aisles, fully air-conditioned and secured parking. 3 locations nationwide: Hoover Car Park, Hoover, 98 Endeavour Road, Shogunas, and 47 Tissue Drive, Trincity. Super Quality Supermarket. Tile Expression Limited, the #1 leader in tiles. Large stock, unbeatable prices, wide variety of porcelain tiles, ceramic tiles, wall and floor tiles, residential and commercial, granite and quartz countertops. Best quality from Spain, Italy, Brazil, India and China. Tile Expression Limited, conveniently located Monroe Road, Kunapir. Telephone 693-0015 or 223-TILE.
It's Freedom Monday. Welcome back. Thank you so much for choosing us. To all of our viewers on Synergy TV and of course Caribbean Showtime Television in Canada, all of our listeners on U975 FM Multicultural Radio, welcome back. Thank you so much for choosing us. Let's say welcome back to Dr. Borindra Tiwari and special guest today, Mr. Derek Ram Samuj. Gentlemen, welcome back. A gentle reminder that you could send your WhatsApp messages. You can call in at 3847142 or send your WhatsApp messages. I'll read it. And of course, if you're calling via if you're listening to us and you'd like to call in, a gentle reminder to please take the volume down on your television and your radio before calling. Thank you. Welcome back, gentlemen.
All right. Thank you very much, Zelisa. I'd like to close our discussion here this morning by asking you a question about Trinidad and Tobago, USA, and Venezuela on natural gas. We absolutely need the natural gas that Venezuela has. Venezuela is flaring it, it's not doing anything with it, and we need it. The world needs it. We have an LNG plant in which we only have 3 out of the 4 trains now functioning and not at full capacity, and we have our gas going down to about half of what we need eventually. So we need this gas, and the US has problems with Venezuela, the way Maduro operates, the way he conducts his business, democracy in Venezuela, etc. But we need a partnership with Maduro because he's in government in order to get this thing going. Is the United States and Trinidad and Tobago, because of the politics and the geopolitics of Venezuela and the energy politics, are we on a kind of collision course? I say this because I noticed the Secretary General, when he came to Trinidad, he announced all these nice things. He went to the Panyard with Bugsy, had some nice photos, etc. Said some positive things. As soon as he went to Guyana, he commented on the fact that one of the leaders of the opposition, seen as the successor to Guaido in the upcoming election, had been eliminated by Maduro as a potential candidate to oppose him in the coming elections. Where are we on this issue?
Okay, let's use the example of Petrocaribe. Petrocaribe provided an opportunity for energy from Venezuela to come to a number of Caribbean countries. As CARICOM restructures its negotiations, you now have to build a consensus and to negotiate a position with Venezuela that looks after the whole quality of life of the entire Caribbean people. If the people in the Caribbean, because of energy, get into a level of poverty, there's going to be a larger migrational problem for the United States. So the negotiators of CARICOM, which means the existing prime ministers, have to build a consensus and strategically negotiate, because bearing in mind, the US ever so often changes its position according to their circumstances. So having the question of adaptability as opposed to sticking to a geopolitical perspective would be challenging. I do not see, for example, that we can avoid developing trade policies when it comes to energy with respect to Venezuela. Remember, we're talking about we've done 50 years, we've got to do another 25, 50 years as the case may be. This, and recognize that even in the European Union, with the problem with Ukraine and Russia, there is also an energy problem there as well. So energy is used as a tool for negotiations. And we have to develop a much wider international view. This is not a Trinidad thing, this is a regional thing. Because if you look at the natural gas and the energy of these 3 countries, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, and add Trinidad to it, then that could help our trade and productivity throughout the region. The question is, who is going to be put into White House in the United States, whether it's going to be a Democratic or whether it's going to be a Republican.
We don't know. Yeah.
And that is also influential as to the position we adopt.
Yeah, but what about the situation? I mean, there are sanctions imposed that limit the way we can relate to Venezuela for the natural gas in the Dragon field.
Yes.
I mean, is there a way of resolving this? I myself intervened the other day when I knew the Secretary of State was coming, and I said that, you know, we have to lobby the United States to find a way to facilitate us to get the gas, because I really think it's necessary, or else you're going to have a poor trend out on Tobago in the next 20 years.
Well, not only that, but you have to use the international institutions that are available to you. For example, the WTO, the whole notion of fair trade, as the case may be. And the U.S. would not like the perspective of sanctions being placed on them.
Yeah.
Right? And therefore, CARICOM needs to strengthen its backbone. Right? We've had too many jellyfish leaders.
Yeah.
And so, let's look at all the options available, both formal and informal, including the lobbying process. And let's use our intelligence, not our emotion, not play the man of ego. So I believe there are other tools that we have not yet used.
All right, Derek, it really has been a pleasure talking with you. We covered a broad range of issues, and you were very alert, very enlightened, very focused in your responses. And I thank you for coming. I hope that we'll have another chance to converse again.
I wish you good health considering what has happened to our friend. Well, so you need to keep it after yourself.
All the best.
Thank you.
Well, good morning again. Thank you so much for listening, for tuning in, for talking, for listening to us this morning, and for listening to the conversation. Thank you, Zelisa, for
You're welcome,
having us on the program and to give us the opportunity to establish this 1 hour session as Freedom Monday, and I hope that with your help and support we will grow this from strength to strength.
Most certainly, most certainly.
And we want you to call in. We want to have a conversation with you. I don't know if the numbers can be put up on the screen.
Yeah, they have been up.
But remember to call in, ask your question. You can ask any question you want, as long as you are not insulting anyone or you know, going out of the way to be unreasonable. Once you can ask any hard question, you can ask any challenging question, you can ask any problem on any problematic issue. That is not that is not in contention. That's why we call it Freedom Monday. You can ask anything you want. But you don't want to be in a situation where, you know, sometimes I hear the radio and I hear the kind of carryings on that are going on there, and I don't think it's helpful for us to be so quarrelsome and aggressive in relation to the issue. I mean, you could have seen Derek and myself here, we had different points of view on a number of controversial issues, and he said a number of controversial things, but he argued his case, and that's the way we want to do it, okay? I want to thank you very much for joining us. Remember, Freedom Monday. I'll be here next week, Monday, as well, and every Monday after that, with the help of God. And I ask you to join us. Again, I thank Zelisa for having us as part of the show. And I thank you all for tuning in. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell them that there's a good program that you can engage, you can learn something that will focus on issues that matter to you and to the society and the region and the world, and that this is something that you do not want to miss on a Monday. Every Monday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Thank you very much. My name is Bo Tiwari.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Tiwari, and of course to your special guest, Mr. Ramchamuch. I do have a great respect for you and your work, and as the doc said, very tasteful discussion. Thank you kindly. And this is where we're going to wrap things up, reminding you we've got a repeat of this program today on Synergy TV. Like Dr. Tiwari said, tell your friends, tell your family members. Do continue to stay with us, U975 FM Multicultural Radio. And of course, be kind, be good, respect the law of the land. And here's reminding you that with God, all things are possible. I am Zelisa Singh Rupani. Thanks for choosing us. Have yourselves a great, safe and beautiful day today. Stay with us.